Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6 round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon. I'm once again flying solo this week. I know it's been a little while since we've been on. Different scheduling conflicts from the UFC, Eddie being off doing his own shit, all that stuff. It's been a minute, but I'm back here now for a quick wrap-up of the UFC Noche card that just went down in San Antonio, Texas. Headlined by an absolute thriller between Diego Lopes and John Silva. The kind of fight that, having just watched it, I just want to see it 3 more times. Please just make this fight several more times. And yeah, I mean, I love watching both of these fighters, really and truly. I still think that John Silva is he's the most Anderson Silva-like fighter I've ever seen since Anderson Silva, but as somebody else here, as Aiden noted here, this is what happens when you don't respect your opponents that much. And John Silva, part of his magic, part of his thrill, is that he absolutely does not respect what his opponents are doing out there, and he's willing to do his own thing, and he commands the cage like a fighter who doesn't care particularly what his opponent is doing. But the downside of that is that he just takes chances and he does stuff that puts him in danger because he thinks he can get away with it. And that was always going to be, I picked this going in thinking that that would be the extremely dangerous aspect about this fight for Silva. That Lopes is a fighter more so than any Silva has ever faced before that you cannot fuck up against. That you cannot give that one moment of opportunity to, because he will take advantage. He's an extreme opportunist. Diego Lopes is one of the best fighters out there at seeing a single moment, seeing a single chance to land something, to jump on something, to get to a position, and taking that opportunity. Extremely fast, extremely powerful, just too dangerous to screw around like that. And even me picking Silva, it's just like, I know this is going to be a huge problem for him. So can't say I'm shocked Lopes won, but I really want to see that fight again. I just want to see it happen over and over. I don't care. Put those two men back in a fight. They are way too much fun to watch. Otherwise, the other question here, what do I think of the Fighting Nerds team now? Those of you who've been watching me or listening to me for a while, either on the 6th round or the Vivi, know that I am a longtime hater of the Fighting Nerds. Mostly as a concept. I love watching Carlos Prates. I love watching John Silva. I can respect what Bahayo and Hoofy and all the rest of them are doing in the cage. They're a lot of them are super entertaining fighters. Most of them are super entertaining fighters. The whole Fighting Nerds thing just bugged me because it's clear that this team is a team of extremely preternaturally gifted jocks, and none of them fight like nerds. It's not a fight. They're not a team of fighting nerds. They're a team of fighting bros who wear stupid glasses. The big thing that we've seen out of Silva, Hoofy, Bahayo, Silva, and Prates in all of their devastating losses that they've taken, all of their losses that they've had recently, is that none of them were prepared for their opponent. Prates was absolutely not prepared to fight Ian Gary at all. Gary completely flummoxed him and took him out of that fight for 4 rounds before he figured out a way into that fight. Hoofy was not prepared to fight Benoit Saint-Denis at all. Not prepared for his takedowns, not prepared for his wrestling, not prepared for his pressure. None of it. Bahia was not prepared for Nasruddin Imavov at all. The first layer of Imavov's combination punching game did not. It flummoxed Bahia so badly that he basically had to spend the whole fight in a fencing sparring match that he lost to Bahia because he could never gain the confidence to step in, punch in the pocket, trade the shots that he needed to, work Imavov's cardio problems, any of the things that might have won him that fight. He had no way to get past the first layer of Imavov's offense to do it. And John Silva, I mean, I know it's his thing, and I know I love him for it, that he doesn't, take his opponents that seriously. He came in and clearly, he just made huge, wild mistakes against Diego Lopes that Diego Lopes is a fighter far too dangerous to make those mistakes against. That is my problem with the Fighting Nerds team as a concept from the beginning. I'm much softer on them now because they have A, given me John Silva, B, given me Carlos Praches. They are both incredibly cool, fun fighters that I love watching. And now that they're losing, it's a lot easier for me to be like, cut the guys a break. They're fun, whatever. When they were winning and claiming that they were winning because they were nerds, I hated it. I couldn't do it. Anyway, great win for Diego Lopes. He tanked all the shots he needed to tank. He found the solutions. He made Silva pay for every big mistake Silva made. And, he keeps himself as a certified contender. I know somebody up here mentioned that he should fight Justin Gaethje. And yeah, of course I would love to see that. I don't know that there's any realistic way to make that happen. I don't know that if you're Diego Lopes right now, I don't think you give up what is almost assuredly a clear path towards another title shot. Again, you don't throw that away to move up a division right now and try to assert yourself into the division, into a new division like lightweight. I got to think that if the UFC really doesn't want to give Movsar Evloev a title shot, then you line Diego Lopes up for the Evloev rematch. And the winner of that gets another shot at Volkanovski. Or you line him up for a rematch against Volkanovski if the UFC doesn't care and can't position Lerone Murphy into a title shot. Or Aljamain Sterling or whoever it seems. I mean, I think you do Lopes Evloev as a rematch for a title shot. That to me is the natural move to make. Obviously, I think Evloev deserves the title shot outright, but Lopes is going to be right there in the mix for the title. The UFC loves him and would love to get him back there. So yeah, I also see Lopes versus Murphy. Yep, that would also make a ton of sense, and all those options are great. For John Silva, I would love to see him face somebody like Yair or Arnold Allen or honestly, just one of those. I mean, I guess he's ranked way down at number 10, so this was going to be his big leapfrog moment, and he didn't. So you could also argue, put him in there with Patricio Pitbull, put him in there with Steve Garcia, put him in there with Dave Onama. Any fight in the top 15, I want to see John Silva in, and I assume that he's going to win most of those. So, yeah, I'm cool with all that. I don't see that there's any practical way to make. If I'm Movsar Evloev, I do not ever in my wildest dreams take a fight with John Silva right now. You are the number one ranked contender in this division. You've already done everything you need to do to earn a title shot. The UFC just eats you. Do not fight the incredibly dangerous, low-ranked guy coming off a loss. That will get him absolutely nothing from the UFC. So if you're Movsar Evloev right now, you either take that Diego Lopes rematch because it's at least with a guy ranked in other who might steal a title shot from you, or you just sit and you wait and you try to force the UFC's hand to give you the title fight you've already earned. So yeah, I mean, otherwise, John Silva, he should just fight anybody in the top 15 who will fight him. I don't care if it's Murphy, Sterling, Allen, Emmett, Pitbull, Garcia, Onama, whoever. Just make that fight. And for Lopes, yeah, you try to talk your way back into a Volkanovski rematch, or you try to talk your way into the Evloev fight. Those are the moves. If he can find a way to get into that Sarukian, Topuria, Holloway conversation up at lightweight, then sure, do that. The Gagey fight would be a ton of fun, but is what it is. We got H. Gore here. I don't know. You guys got to give me better stuff to say, like the Bisping horrible puns to say his names. But saying, what's your take on the state of reffing? I mean, the problem with reffing has always been and will remain that it sucks and nobody wants to do it. And it sucks and nobody wants to do it. So you get a crop of guys at the bottom of the pool of reffing, many of whom are inexperienced and not ready for big fight slots. You see cards where the UFC goes to some local market and they pull regional refs in. Those refs almost universally do a terrible job, suddenly getting pulled into big fights. And yet, so the only people who are consistently getting the big fights are an old guard of ref who have been doing this forever and have enough cachet to do this all over the world and travel all the time and live as referees making the very shit amount of money that refs make, and otherwise doing seminars and all the other stuff they can do on the side. So you really end up with a pretty seemingly small pool of really pro-level referees who stay there forever, and a very difficult process to break through because it pays so poorly. You're basically, if you're a low-level ref, you're basically doing volunteer work. And to get enough cachet, to get enough presence, to get to a big slot, you have to do years and years of work, giving up all your weekends to drive around to like local amateur events and work for free, essentially. So the only solution really to reffing is to have refs be commission employees where they get paid by the state, by the commission, to work full time. And then you have regular certification training and regular certification check-ins to make sure that they are still able to perform their job at a high level. But in the current system where refs are basically contractors working for commissions on a per contract basis, you're only going to get this really janky, cobbled together system where only a few people can ever do it consistently enough to make a career out of it. So I don't know. Anyway, awesome fight though. Everything I wanted out of Silva. The only thing I wanted more out of Silva Lopes was for it to last longer. It is insane to me that Silva got out of that first round. He threw that stupid spinning strike, got dropped on his ass for it, got mounted, had the kind of shots dropped on him that, like, the fact that he popped up clear-eyed and happy and ready to fight again and ready to go, that man is one of the least perturbable, least stress-prone fighters I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. And for Diego Lopes, I mean, his chin is otherworldly. His chin, his size, his speed, that combination he has is just, he's incredibly dangerous for anyone. So, love that fight. Couldn't get enough of it. Otherwise, as noted, Andre here noting the David Martinez-Rob Font fight. This really was a great turn-up for David Martinez. Started out throwing a ton. I thought Rob Font did pretty well to handle this fight early on, the way that he does, just going out there, being really steady and workmanlike, staying on his strikes, staying on his pressure, sticking to fundamentals. It's a very Rob Font performance, but Martinez did well to start hot. And then when Font started to gain momentum back, to go out and do what everyone who has beat Rob Font has had to do, which is to sit down and land the bigger strikes. Take advantage of the fight that Rob Font is always going to step in and throw pretty meat and potatoes combos to outland him, to outpower him, to overpower him. You look at the fights that Rob Font has lost, his fights to Davison Figueiredo, to Marlon Vera, to Jose Aldo. They all looked a lot like that round 3 against David Martinez, where Font is going out and he's trying to push the pace, but the firepower coming back at him is just too much. And I love to see that out of a fighter who doesn't have that big fight experience, the way Martinez doesn't have that big fight experience. He took a huge step up here. And when Font came out looking like a vet, trying to put pressure on him, he answered. And yeah, maybe in a 5-round fight, Martinez starts to run into cardio problems. Maybe in a fighter, maybe against a younger elite fighter who has Rob Font's kind of experience, maybe he can't crack them the same way. Maybe he can't make his shots count the same way, and that experience plays a bigger factor. But for Martinez right now, taking this step up, like we just saw John Matsumoto and Kyler Phillips and Adrian Yanez fail at this test in just the last couple years against an also old Rob Font. Martinez didn't. He answered the call. It was a great performance from him, and a great look for his ability to hang in the top 10 of that division. So, yeah. So asking if it's too early to ask for David Martinez versus Santiago Luna. I absolutely think it's too early to ask for that. Santiago Luna was getting pretty out-slicked by Kwang Lee for several minutes of that fight before Lee just decided to sit down and brawl with Luna. And yeah, Luna showed up big and he got a finish. But Santiago Luna is raw as raw gets. He is a kid with, like, they gave him the lowest end of the bantamweight division, and he showed up and he showed he's legit. That's great. But that proves nothing. That is the mileage of difference between Rob Font and Kwang Lee cannot be appropriately stated in this moment. That, he's just not ready for that. For me, I'd like to see, David Martinez coming off that win, he is going to get another ranked opponent. So I would love to see him against like Vinicius Oliveira or Montel Jackson, somebody like that. Maybe even Marcus McGee or Kyler Phillips, like somebody in the bottom end of the top 15. I think the Rob Font win is legit, but I think Martinez should get another win like that. I mean, before you throw him in with like Song Yadong or Piotr Yan or that kind of level. Mario Batista is booked against Umar Nurmagomedov. Marlon Vera is booked against Ayman Zahabi. I would have otherwise probably said that Ayman Zahabi would be the right level. But yeah, I would say somebody in like the Oliveira, McGee, Phillips, Jackson range. Probably the Vinicius Oliveira fight is the fight I would go with for Martinez. That would be an absolute war and a thriller. And for Rob Font, he could fight Marcus McGee. That would make a ton of sense. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot notable to talk about on this card. Rafa Garcia showed up great against Jared Gordon. I've been criticizing him for a lack of power, his unwillingness to sit down on punches or to push his punches with arm strikes a lot has kind of held him back in his career as a UFC fighter. Kept him in that very mid-card action slot. So it was great to see him go out and finish Jared Gordon. Obviously, there are some mitigating circumstances out there with Bilal Muhammad reporting afterward that Jared Gordon got hit by a car yesterday, and that's why he had the knee brace on. But still, Garcia showed up. Quality fight. I don't know if there's any particular fight that I have to see him in next, but you could throw him in with somebody like, I don't know, Nasrat Haqparast. Has Nasrat Haqparast fought Rafa Garcia yet? Yes, he has. He beat Rafa Garcia. So, Alexander Hernandez just got a win on this same card. I wouldn't be totally opposed to something like that. Or Mike Davis, somebody like that. Doesn't, just a mid-card action guy. Kelvin Gastelum before that beat Dustin Stoltzfus in a tragicomic, terrible fight that he barely deserved to win. I scored it for Gastelum, but he showed up 5 pounds over, got his ass kicked by Stoltzfus early, and then just, Stoltzfus is half his speed. Gastelum should never be losing a fight like that. He should never be coming close. It's just a terrible fight. And he's, you put him in there against one of the slowest guys in the middleweight division, and the only thing Gastelum did is prove that that's about as hard a test as he can face right now. Throw him in against other guys at the bottom of the middleweight division, because if you throw him in against good fighters, he's just not going to compete. Throw him in against Dushko Todorovic or against Kyle Daukaus, Cesar Almeida, Robert Brishek. That's about the level that he's competing at right now. There's no reason to throw him back in there with somebody like Roman Kopylov or Paulo Costa or Gregory Rodriguez. Like the Gregory Rodriguez fight, I think that's a waste of Gastelum. Gastelum isn't, if he shows up out of shape, like, you're just doing Gregory Rodriguez a disservice. I don't think he deserves fights that cool. Yeah. This was just a tragically bad fight. I don't have any need for it. Alexander Hernandez, though, he's another dude that I have been really critical of long term. He's bad under pressure, bad at going backwards, has had a bad habit of folding, but these past 2 fights, and this fight in particular, I realize he's fighting Chase Hooper and Carlos Diego Ferreira, an under-athletic 20-something-year-old and a way past his prime 40-year-old. But in both these fights, Hernandez had a ton of pressure put on him, looked overwhelmed, looked like he was getting hit second in every, landing second in every exchange, letting the fight come to him, not being assertive at all. And in both fights, he was able to dig down and find a shot, find big counters, find his moment. I mean, the man has always been a clear top athlete. He's always been a guy who has the skill potential to compete near an elite level. And he just hasn't had the mental fortitude to do it. So seeing these fights, he's on a 4-fight win streak now. And this is a dude who lost a split decision to featherweight Damon Jackson just last year. So it really does feel like he's turning things around. After the fight, he called out Michael Chandler. I mean, Michael Chandler can't buy a win right now, so it's a little bit of a cheap call out to try and, just get that name value fight under his belt, but I wouldn't be against it. Chandler's 0-3 since 2022. But I saw somebody else mention he should fight who was it? The tall Spaniard, Joel Alvarez. I would be totally into that. Though Alvarez may be fighting Grant Dawson coming up here. So, yeah, the Michael Chandler fight is fine if Chandler is willing. Otherwise, I'd also argue for him fighting Nasrat Haqparast is another really athletic guy who just seems to have trouble getting his game into gear to fight elite talent. But either way, there are always fights for Hernandez out there if he's willing to show up. And then Santiago Luna, like I say, he showed up big here. He was really underexperienced, really raw, really green. When Kwang Lee was out there kind of being a little slick, fighting a little smart, he made Luna look really green, landed a lot of shots on him, but then Lee just started brawling with him. Really should have tested his takedown defense, really should have tested Luna's composure under pressure instead of just sitting down and trading hooks. That really gave Luna the best chance to show off his athleticism and power and natural ability, and Luna clearly has that. So, great turn up for him. I would be 100% behind seeing Luna fight somebody like Bernardo Sapai or maybe Muin Gafarov, or I don't know, just somebody fun. That Sergey Side got a fun win recently. Malcolm Wellmaker. Those would all be pretty fun fight. Elijah Smith. Those would all be super fun prospect versus prospect fights. So anything like that would make a lot of sense to me for Luna. Otherwise, I don't know. There's not a lot to talk about with the rest of this. Tatiana Suarez got a workmanlike win over Amanda Lemos, where her game once again imploded in round 3 when she couldn't get takedowns. There's still a very, very good chance that she could just run over the winner of Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern and win herself the women's strawweight title now that Weili Zhang has vacated. So she could still win a belt off of this performance, but it does not look like Suarez's game has evolved at all off of that loss she had. She's just lucky in Lemos that she got a fighter who, Lemos always needs to be able to clinch up, slow down, out-wrestle opponents to keep them from pushing a pace on her. It's a big fundamental part of Lemos's game. So she was always going to let Suarez clinch up with her, tie up with her, do work. And it took 2 rounds for Suarez to gas out and kind of lose her confidence and for that game to stop working. If a title fight isn't in her future right now, let's see, looking at that division, I mean, she's still ranked number 2. Then, yeah, she could fight Yan Xiaonan or Lupi Godinez, I guess. But realistically, she should just be fighting the winner of Jandiroba Dern. That's the fight to make. As for what happens to Lemos, I mean, she hasn't fought Yan Xiaonan. She's just coming off a win over Yasmin Lucindo, so fight Yan Xiaonan. That's an obvious fight. 2 top fighters coming off a loss. Book them against each other. That makes sense. Lupi Godinez is running up the division. I'm still not convinced that her game is elite. A fight against Amanda Lemos would make a lot of sense. You know, there are a couple of good fights right there for her. So, and yeah, Alden Correa showed up good. I liked what I saw out of him. Alessandro Costa obviously had a foot injury that really broke him down quickly, but Correa showed up well in that fight. Daniil Donchenko showed up great against Rodrigo Cezinando. Donchenko looked fantastic in that fight. Alice Pereira should not have been signed by the UFC under any circumstances. I mean, it's women's bantamweight. I get it. They need to sign whatever warm body they can find. And it's a division where she can get regional level competition. But this was essentially the first pro fight of her career. So Montserrat Rendon going out and grinding out an ugly win over her, it's no surprise. I was very happy to see Zach Reese kick Sirikus Dumas in the dick so hard that fight couldn't happen. I don't want to see that fight. I don't need to see that fight. Neither of these guys need to be fighting at this level, so that was a win for me. And Jesus Aguilar had one of the better performances of his career to grind out a boring win over Luis Garule. So that's fine. And I don't ever need to talk about Joaquim Silva versus Claudio Puelles. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Give us a subscribe over on our Substack. Keep the Vivisection 6th round going. I'll have Eddie back next time. I promise. Even if it's a gunpoint, I'll make it happen. And, yeah, thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.